In a quiet town nestled between rolling hills and serene lakes, life moves at a steady, predictable pace. The residents, familiar with the calm rhythms of daily life, rarely expect anything out of the ordinary to disrupt their peaceful existence. Yet among them lives an unlikely hero, a person who believes that even the smallest acts of courage can make a world of difference. This is the story of Emma, a quiet, unassuming librarian in her mid-30s who has lived her life in the shadow of her own doubts and fears. Emma's days are spent in the dusty corners of the town's library, surrounded by books and stories of brave adventurers, world changers, and bold decision-makers. Though she is fascinated by these stories, she has never believed she could be one of them. Instead, she quietly watches life unfold from the sidelines, always second-guessing herself and fearing the consequences of standing out. But everything changes one crisp autumn morning, when she witnesses an act of kindness that sparks something deep within her. Across town, Jack, a local high school teacher, is well known for his dedication to his students. He is passionate about his work, but his life has been marred by the recent loss of his wife. Now he struggles with the daily grind, barely able to see beyond the grief that clouds his every thought. He too has become a prisoner of his own fears, paralyzed by the uncertainties of moving forward without her. Little do they know, their paths are about to cross in a way that will test their courage and change everything they thought they knew about themselves and the world around them. The turning point in Emma's life comes unexpectedly. One afternoon, while browsing through the library's archives, she overhears a conversation that rattles her to her core. A young boy, barely 10 years old, is sitting in a corner, his face buried in his hands. His body shakes with quiet sobs. Emma watches from afar, torn between her instinct to help and the fear of getting involved. She has never been one to confront uncomfortable situations head-on, always preferring to stay in the background. But then Jack enters the library. He spots the boy immediately and walks over, sitting down beside him. Without a word, Jack gently places a hand on the boy's shoulder, offering a silent comfort. The boy looks up, his tear-streaked face softening as Jack speaks to him in calm, measured tones. Emma, despite herself, feels something stirring inside her, a desire to help, to step forward, and make a difference. The encounter shakes something loose in Emma's soul, but it also frightens her. She recognizes in Jack's quiet strength a quality she wishes she had. It is then that she learns the boy is Jack's student, and the grief from his own past is clouding his ability to support those in need. Emma realizes that, like her, Jack is burdened by unspoken fears, unable to step outside his own pain. It is a revelation that mirrors her own struggle, forcing her to confront the fear that has held her back for so long. As the days pass, Emma becomes increasingly aware of the deepening divide in her town. People walk by one another without seeing, too afraid to make a stand or speak up. There's a sense of collective apathy, as if the weight of the world's problems is too heavy for anyone to carry alone. The community, once tight-knit and supportive, now seems distant, fractured by their shared hesitations and unspoken fears. The problem, though, is bigger than just Emma and Jack. It is a problem that runs deep within the town's fabric, a problem that has been simmering for years but has never truly been addressed. It's the fear of change, the fear of standing out, and the paralyzing uncertainty of what might happen if someone dares to act courageously. The moment that changes everything for both Emma and Jack comes on a bitterly cold evening, just as the first snow of the season begins to fall. The town's annual holiday celebration is underway, and the streets are lined with festive lights, creating a stark contrast to the heavy tension that hangs in the air. Emma, still hesitant about her role in the unfolding drama, walks through the town square, her thoughts swirling with doubt. But as she approaches the center, she sees Jack again. This time, standing alone at the edge of the crowd, his face a mask of frustration and sorrow. Jack's students have gathered around, waiting for him to make a speech, but his hesitation is palpable. He has been asked to deliver the keynote address, an honor that once would have thrilled him. Now, however, the weight of his grief is overwhelming, and he can't bring himself to speak. His hands tremble and his breath comes in shallow gasps. He wants to say something meaningful, something that could make a difference, but he feels paralyzed by his fear of failing them. Emma watches from a distance, her heart pounding in her chest. She understands the weight of Jack's struggle all too well. She too has faced moments when the fear of stepping forward seemed too great to overcome. But tonight, something is different. The sight of Jack's vulnerability, his willingness to stand in front of so many despite his internal turmoil, sparks a fire in Emma's heart. She knows that the time has come for her to do what she has never done before, to step out of the shadows and take a leap of faith. In a bold, impulsive decision, Emma strides toward the stage, her steps quick and sure. She doesn't know exactly what she's going to say or how she will be received, but she knows that this is her moment. The crowd turns as she approaches, their curiosity piqued. Jack looks up, startled by her sudden appearance, and for a brief moment they exchange a glance. Two people, each facing their own fears but now united in a common purpose. With trembling hands, Emma steps up to the microphone, her voice shaking at first but gradually gaining strength. She speaks not of grand gestures or heroic feats, but of the simple, quiet courage it takes to act when everything within you says to stay still. She tells the crowd about the power of small acts, acts that can ripple through the community and change lives. She speaks of kindness, of stepping outside one's comfort zone, and of how a single person's decision can spark a wave of transformation. As Emma speaks, the crowd begins to listen, and something shifts. Jack, who has been silently watching her, realizes that he is no longer alone in his struggle. Emma has found the courage to face her fears, and in doing so, she has shown him that he too can do the same. The transformation that they both experience in that moment is subtle but powerful. They are no longer defined by their fears, but by their willingness to act in spite of them. The days following the holiday celebration are a turning point for the town. Emma's speech, though small in scale compared to the grand expectations of heroic acts, reverberates through the hearts of many. The people of the town begin to see the world around them with new eyes, eyes that are no longer clouded by fear but instead filled with hope and the belief that change is possible. Emma, once the quiet observer, now stands at the heart of this transformation, not as a leader of revolution, but as a symbol of quiet courage. Jack too finds himself slowly emerging from the shadows of his grief. The speech, combined with Emma's bravery, is the catalyst he needs to face his own past. He starts to open up to his students, sharing his struggles and the lessons he's learned. For the first time in a long while, he feels connected to the world around him, no longer retreating into the safe isolation of his pain. His interactions with his students become more meaningful, and he begins to see the impact of his own small acts of courage on their lives. The town itself begins to shift. People who were once strangers now greet one another with smiles, and the sense of apathy that had plagued the community fades away. There are still challenges, of course, but the townspeople are now more willing to confront them together, knowing that even the smallest act of courage can spark a change. The library, once a quiet, forgotten space, becomes a hub of activity. People coming together to share stories, discuss ideas, and offer support. For Emma, the journey is just beginning. She finds herself embracing new challenges, pushing herself beyond the boundaries she once thought were insurmountable. No longer bound by her fears, she begins to take risks, to engage with the world around her in ways she never thought possible. The quiet librarian has become a beacon of hope and inspiration, not because she is perfect, but because she dared to act in the face of uncertainty. As for Jack, he realizes that courage isn't about being fearless. It's about facing your fears and choosing to act despite them. His grief will always be a part of him, but he no longer lets it define his life. He has found a new sense of purpose in the people around him, and he knows that even the smallest acts of kindness and understanding can change the world in ways that go far beyond what he ever imagined. Together, Emma and Jack discover that the simple act of courage, no matter how small, can indeed change everything.